out to the audience who would like to speak to the issue. You have 9 minutes, give your name and address, speak to the chair, and we'll try to answer your question.
Okay, Greg Beck, 722 Waterbury Court. As you know, I'm the president of Parkway Solutions. First off, I believe Mr. Ebert, you may have misspoken. The initial bids, when they were out, installation was included in what was quoted, and you said that it was not, so I do want to make that correction here. In regards to this program, I spoke to you about the company you're choosing to buy equipment from. It, under testimony, admitted to overcharging the city by nearly $70,000. I find it really disturbing and still very unethical, but I'm glad it's coming to vote because this time you guys get to put your names next to what you're supporting. If you're supporting a company that deliberately defrauded you, and also a council person that stood before this chamber and represented the discount as being a 14 to 18% discount when in fact it wasn't, it was 10%. Also, Mr. Ebert is absolutely correct. Between the two of us, we have nearly 40 years experience in working with municipalities and working with these contracts. We've got eons more experience with this than you do. That's why when we warned you about the pitfalls of cooperative purchasing and how it's ripe with fraud, you ignored us, and in court it was revealed that that's exactly what was going on. So now your solution is to revisit this whole thing, restart it all over, after you've spent probably, I'm estimating $100,000 in legal fees, $45,000 to support OHM to initially start this project. And now you're coming back with what is, first of all, what we did when we went to court, we argued one point in the injunction. And that point was that the contract was illegal and unenforceable. Whether you disagree with it or not, the court sided with us. The argument you made as a city was that you have home rule jurisdiction, I apologize for the lack of a better term, but that allows you to kind of adjust and play a little bit loose with state revised codes, since it's a smaller municipality. However, that is not carte blanche to do anything you choose to do. You are not free to violate multiple ordinances as you move forward. Through our council, we deferred the additional lawsuits that are going to be pending in this matter because our original argument was contract steering, and the current ordinance that you're proposing may rise to the level of a crime. Because the Ohio Revised Code does have some say in how you adapt the home rule rules. So we went to, and he's right, we submitted this and we gave the heads up to the auditor's office ourselves when we showed them that the company that you're choosing to do business with was disreputable. We knew these guys coming into this. 3 years ago when you guys did the Overlook Park project, you violated the law there too, but we let it slide, we walked away because we didn't want to be appearing as though we're nothing but sour grapes. We were prepared this time. We caught you. We caught you. Okay? Steering contracts is now back on the table, and we are preparing litigation in that regard too. Now, to address this specific thing where we saw what you guys submitted, you can, as an entity, purchase through cooperative purchasing. He is absolutely right, and the auditor is giving you accurate information on that. However, again, it's not carte blanche. Bid splitting is illegal. It is illegal. I cite you, we contacted and we reached out to the Attorney General's office. Breaking contracts into smaller amounts to avoid the bidding process. Here's what you're doing. You're taking and you're now splitting up installation and you're splitting up the purchase of the equipment. However, if the person supplying you the equipment is overcharging you, they have an unfair advantage in bidding the labor because they can make up that other money. So anybody coming in now is working against the system you set up for them to fail. So again, this falls in the contract space. But the Attorney General's office says, as a rule, similar products and services purchased from the same vendor should constitute one contract. When a purchaser breaks contracts into smaller amounts to avoid publicly bidding the project, it thwarts the competitive process and violates Ohio competitive bidding statutes. While there may be valid jurisdictions for splitting contract into several smaller ones, the desire to avoid a competitive bidding process does not rise to that level. You don't meet that law. In addition, we were told whether a competitive bidding, the Attorney General's office have addressed the question of whether competitive bidding requirements limit to restrict the ways in which contracting authority may contract for the purchase of products and services, in particular, whether a contracting authority is prohibited from separately purchasing products or services through multiple purchases, might otherwise be aggregated in a single purchase, which is what you're trying to do here. Following the pronouncements of the court in this area, that those opinions advise that the single purchase otherwise subject to competitive bidding may not be split into separate contracts or orders for the purpose of evading the requirement of the purchase to be competitively bid. It's illegal. What you're proposing is illegal. The threshold limitation should be interpreted by relating separately to any purchase or lease which may reasonably in good faith be deemed constitute or separate contract or purchase order. The purchase or lease contemplated may not be split into separate contracts or orders for the purpose of evading the requirement of the statute. Now here's the biggie, guys. Here's where it becomes, you may be crossing a line here legally beyond just a matter of an ordinance. Bid splitting is a form of procurement fraud. Let me say that again. Procurement fraud. It's a crime. You are proposing to split bids here. Can't do it. Here's the point. If you guys pass this, within 48 hours, we will be back in court again with another injunction. I promise you that. We won the last one because we know what we're doing. We pay attention. We do our due diligence. We know this forward and backward. We know what you can do. We know what you can't. And we're prepared to do that. In addition, you can expect additional suits for the contract steering. Not only that, let me jump into this. During the time in court, when we won the injunction, we went into court, and that was all our focus, as I mentioned, that was all our focus. We didn't talk about and present the evidence for contract steering, which we have. We didn't submit the evidence for all the other activities that took place in this matter, which are all going to come through if you guys, because we have to wait for you guys to actually commit the act before we can file our suit. So that's the only thing that's holding us up. There's more litigation pending. But what was interesting was what we didn't bring up, and this is going to blow you away. During testimony and evidence presented by the city to the Lorain County Courthouse, we have irrefutable proof that evidence was doctored by the city or the city's representation. I'm instructed my counsel to file with the Ethics Commission on this matter. You submitted made-up documents in evidence. Did that come from someone in here that the legal counsel was not aware of? Or was legal counsel aware that this was bad evidence? You guys have made a mess out of this. You should have done it right from the word go. You were negligent from the word go. And I'm going to talk to you later about the ridiculous amount of money you guys threw away in this trial, because when you see the evidence of what was presented by the city in trial, had nothing to do with the case. You spent $100,000 of taxpayer money for a dog and pony show where they talked about our social media posts, where the lawyer for the city pulled up a picture of Mr. Hills, who was here from OHM, and pulled up a picture of someone sitting behind him and accused him. They pulled this up in court and said, look at this. We have evidence of you sitting in court. They didn't argue the case.
Your time's up, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody's paying attention, guys. We're going to see how you vote.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Um,
I'd like to ask a question, Mr. Ebert. Mr. Ebert, is Mid-States involved in this at all?
I won't know until they've been on the project.
Okay, so we're not dealing directly with Mid-States
No,
at
we're
all?
bidding to co-op National Purchasing Program for the equipment. That's who we're dealing with. As
Yeah.
far as, I'll clarify one thing. In the past, we were actually gonna do, the city was actually gonna do the mulching, if you remember correctly, the fencing, things of that nature. It was decided after looking at this thing to have the installation done separately with a public bid. It's not a bid splitting It's actually having the installation and labor itself. That's why I think you see the price on the National Purchasing Program as of when it was put together. It may change now. It was $429,700 as of when it was put together. It may change now. It was $429,708.90. I think before it was $499,000 something. Before the labor is not in there. That's going to be bid separately with a public bid.
Second question, so when you were in communications, when the city was in communications with the auditor of the state of Ohio, was the Attorney General involved in those discussions, or did the auditor refer to the Attorney General?
The auditor referred to the Attorney General. In his response, he referred to talking to the Attorney General. I've got it here, I remember what it says. He consulted with the Attorney General before giving his opinion to us. I don't know who was the Attorney General. I did not talk to the AG's office though.
And the last question that I have, the recommendation to proceed in this fashion was supported by the state of Ohio, the auditor of the state of Ohio?
Well, they indicated that the program we're going through was recognized. I don't think we supported it per se. They indicated it was legal, it was part of the process. It was part of the National Purchasing Program, in which is afforded municipalities in the state of Ohio. That's why I asked for that in writing, and specifically I passed this out to council. I think you got it now in your possession. So if there's any question on that, it's actually it's reduced to writing, not just a verbal indication. And he specifically cites in various sections and the program we're going through that's recognized in the state of Ohio. And that's what we wanted to do, is make sure that the auditor was in compliance with that.
Thank you, sir.
Further comments? Anyone else in the audience? Okay. That, we'll go to the planning commission, Mrs. Funderbush, in the audience. Okay, with that, we have public input. Before that, any announcements anyone has? Business announcements? Okay, there we have public input. You have 5 minutes to speak to any item. Maybe not late. Anyone like to speak this evening? Okay, with that, this meeting is.
Hold on. You were during the meeting?
Pardon me, sir? Yeah.
Public opportunity?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Greg Beck, 722 Waterbury Court. I'm just gonna read something to you real quickly here. A public purchaser's job includes tailoring bid specifications to the needs of individual projects. But while bid specifications generally should be clear and detailed, they should not be drafted with the intent of awarding a specific bidder. You stated that Mid-States Recreation at this point was not being awarded this project. Yet you asked Mr. Wright,
Speak to the chair, sir.
Mr. Wright was asked if the equipment would be ready. How is that possible to know if you haven't picked a bidder? Explain that to me, please. Also, man, you guys are a piece of work, I tell you. That is clearly not what's taking place here. Also, you claim, or you state that, I believe, MPP or whatever cooperative purchasing program that the auditor told you was an authorized purchasing program, they are affiliated with Berliner, which was represented by Mid-States. So you're isolating your cooperative purchasing program through one cooperative purchasing program, where there are multiples. If you are going to take this to bid, state law requires that you provide at least the opportunity for 3 equals. In other words, 3 equals that can match specification. You cannot use sole source equipment like Berliner. You have to have a fair playing field. You have to open up cooperative purchasing to everybody that wants to bid. You cannot pick one exclusive. So Mr. Wrights, has equipment been ordered? Did the city violate?
Sir, speak to the chair.
Did the city violate the injunction to not move forward with this project and now knows that the equipment will be ready? The citizens need to know that. The state needs to know that. Why did you misrepresent that just
Do
now?
you have any comments?
No comment. We have no comment right now. The appeal's in appeal right now. We are going through the cooperative purchase, national purchasing program, recognized by the state auditor, and whoever has that equipment will be part of that program if you're a member of the national purchasing program.
That is an exclusive per vendor. You are automatically singling out one provider to have a benefit in this bid process.
This is not a design build.
No, it's not. It's a bid.
It's a national purchasing program which we can, purchase the equipment through and get a better bid.
But now you go back to splitting the bid.
I'm not gonna argue splitting it.
No, we're gonna argue this in court, sir.
Sure.
You were wrong last time on this. You misinterpreted the law before. You're going to misinterpret it again. Also, I spoke before about what I believe to be legal malpractice in this whole case that went before the trial. Again, $100,000 worth of citizens' money was spent for a dog and pony show that had nothing to do with this. It didn't address the issues at hand. This was a project that was neglected from day one because the proper paperwork wasn't started when you first took on this project. That was negligence by the city officials, by the planning committee, or whoever it was. That was negligence by the law director. It is wrong to reward a law firm with a $100,000 contract when the very member of that law firm was responsible for this thing never getting off the ground right in the first place. You know that. Again, I'm looking forward to each of you placing your vote on this issue, yes or no. Because you're either voting for doing business underhandedly and sneakily and making up stories about whether or not you bought the equipment already, or you can sit there and you can tell your constituents that you're going to do what's right for this community. You're going to strip this thing right back down to bare bones. You're going to get away from this scheme that you're trying to create to justify and backtrack to make up for the negligence that occurred early on in this process. I'm assuming you're not going to do the right thing, so I look forward to seeing you all in court. Thank you.
Anyone else like to comment? Okay, with that, this Monday meeting is adjourned. Reviewing the